What's up, guys? It's Paul Salazar Group, and we're doing a little PSG market update. We just finished Q1, so that means for anybody who's selling or buying over $5 million, it's the new ULA. But today we wanted to discuss how Q1 compares to Q1 2022 and how it compares to Q1 pre-pandemic levels. Because if we're trying to compare this Q1 compared to last year Q1, it's not a good comparison, right?
No.
Because last year it was a frenzy.
Feeding frenzy.
It was a feeding frenzy.
Feeding frenzy.
Inventory levels were really, really low.
Across Los Angeles, it was 6% over sales listing price.
Yeah.
All across Los Angeles, yeah.
So houses were selling on average 6% more than their list price.
Correct.
Wow. And I saw in some instances 20% more.
To get your offer considered, it was 20% over that you had to put in.
So it's important if you're a buyer and if you're a seller and if you're watching this, you want to be educated about how this market compares to pre-pandemic levels in certain categories, right? If we're looking at inventory levels, we're 14.5% less inventory than there was last year. But that's not, again, we're not trying to compare last year, because last year there was like 1 month supply of like inventory.
It was a record low. Yeah. Record low. Yeah.
But before we get started, I think we should have a little bit of wine. I should probably serve other people first. These guys are degenerates, so they already started drinking. I'm not surprised that
we just have wine in our glass and ready to go.
So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Reach out to us too. So we sell basically in the greater Los Angeles area from like Los Feliz areas on the east end.
Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Echo Park, Studio City, and Toluca Lake. Yeah,
Sherman Oaks, Encino,
Playa Vista,
Marina Del Rey,
West Hollywood.
Okay.
Right in the middle. Getting the edge, but I'll tell you right in the middle.
Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Brentwood,
Homely Hills.
So that whole area all the way out to Malibu, right? So if you guys want specific market data in those areas, let us know, because we're more than happy to do that investigation for you guys. I'm doing a kind of general LA from Los Feliz all the way to Malibu, as far south as like LAX. So like Culver City-ish as well, to give you an idea of how that market is doing, because that's where kind of we work in. Okay. Mm-hmm. So first, let's have a little cheers.
Cheers! First quarter of 2023.
Yes.
Cheers.
Salute. Let's talk about how inventory Q1 compares to pre-pandemic levels. So if you're looking here at my screen, there was a 35% drop in inventory levels based on pre-pandemic levels, right? And so what I'm also looking at is interest rates. Pre-pandemic was around 4%. Now we're where?
6.5.
Okay, jumbo?
6,
right? Yeah. So the rates are much higher. They were at 4% pre-pandemic levels, right? Mm-hmm. But with a 35% drop, so pre-pandemic, there's around 3,000 houses for sale in this area that we're talking about. Now there's 2,300. That's a huge drop.
That's a 30% drop.
That's a huge drop, right?
Yeah.
In a typical buyer's market, there's more inventory, right? So it's a very strange market, because rates are higher, and usually when rates go up, prices go down, right? So in this market, we've seen, I think overall, since the height of the market last year, and in May, I think, we've dropped about 10%.
Yeah.
Right? So right now, we're seeing the prices stabilize. But it's not a normal market. Like, I've been through the Great Recession, right, from 2008 to 2012, and prices dropped close to 20% in a lot of areas. We've already gone down 10%, which is a lot, and now they're kind of stabilizing. But the amount of inventory is really, really low, which is indicative more of a seller's market than a buyer's market. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on that? If you're a buyer out there and you're watching this video and you're saying, okay, so this is really confusing to me. We're seeing doom and gloom on the news, but I'm out there looking for houses and there's not a lot of inventory out there. Maybe there's 3 houses in my search criteria, in the area that I'm looking at. So what do you tell that buyer when it's supposedly a buyer's market, according to all the media, but the inventory is low?
Yeah, so what I tell our buyers that if it's a home that they really do love, to act on it quickly.
Yeah.
because it is such short and so small of inventory that you'll lose out on it, and you don't know when another home like that will come on the market.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Yeah.
I mean, I just try to tell them that, and and I don't want to push them too much.
Yeah.
Just what they feel comfortable doing.
Just provide the data.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of inventory out there. Yes, rates are high right now, but guess what? You can refinance.
No, exactly. Yeah.
You can refinance, right? So if you're a buyer also, I think a lot of the questions that we're getting from buyers is, should we wait?
Is it going lower?
Is it going lower? Right? So what's your response on that, Mario? Like if you're working with a buyer.
I work with a buyer now,
Yeah.
and we've looked at 10 properties, and he finally found the one, and I told him, let's act on it now. I mean, it's in your benefit. There's not many buyers out there, so maybe we could get a better price on it, for example, and along with like you said, refi in a year from now.
Yeah.
So
It's smart to educate the buyers, and
Exactly.
then they can make their own decision.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, inventory levels are so low, and
Yeah.
why is inventory so low? Why?
Yeah, partly because people refinance in the best market there's ever been for anyone. So especially sellers, when we could refinance at, I've had people refinance at 2.95. When you have a 2.95 mortgage to a 3.25 mortgage, how are you going to tell that person it's a good idea to sell and then buy a new house at a mortgage rate that's what, like 6.5 right now?
6.5.
And a jumbo at 6?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
almost double the mortgage.
Yeah.
So finding those people, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's a very wild market. It's
For
all
sure.
over the place.
Yeah, it's nothing that I've seen in the 17 years that I've been in business, and I talk to a lot of people that have been in the business for 30, 40 years, and they've also never seen a market like this, because in a traditional buyer's market, there's more inventory, prices go down a lot more than we've seen, but in this market, it's kind of a buyer's market, but there's not a lot of inventory, so it's kind of strange, and there's houses that come on the market and sit for a long time, or there's houses that come on the market, they get multiple offers and sell for over asking price. It's a very strange market. It's very house specific.
It is.
So if you're a buyer out there, if you like a property, go after it. Go after it. And if there's no offers on it, yeah, I mean, you can negotiate there. But a lot of times, you submit an offer and guess what? Another offer comes in. And
That's how it always works.
That happens a lot.
It's a lot.
That happens a lot, right?
It does. It's crazy because we went through such a time where it was so increase that everything with the banks and defaults and people thinking that there's doom and gloom around the corner, that people are kind of hesitant to move forward. And yes, you can't compare it to 2008 because that's not the same thing by any means. But at the same time, there's people that are very hesitant about making the next move, which is understandable. But at the same time, every sign is pointing towards, yes, the market is kind of stabilizing and plateauing, and if you will, maybe a 5% decrease in price, if that, based on the property. But if you find a property within the next 6 months and you're a buyer, now would be the time to make a move, because if it's been sitting there and there's motivation behind it, there are people who will pay down your buyback of a loan, and you can buy down your loan to where 6% is will be 4% for the next 2 years. So there's many different ways to do it. It's just working with someone who understands what's going on, and then kind of coordinating your motivation to what is actually a possibility to moving forward.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think those are all good points. Now that we've covered inventory levels and we discussed how that affects the market, let's talk about the demand. And when you're looking at demand, you have to look at what's under contract right now. Yes, given the fact that ULA is about to end, that's probably going to affect a little bit of the demand.
Oh, everything.
Right? People were trying to get their house sold
We talked about how wide and how big that tail of the market was.
Yeah.
Where people were like, if you don't close by April 1st, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
So the market and the demand was completely different than what it was before.
Yeah, for sure. So in the 5 to 10
a big
million,
asterisk.
Exactly.
Big asterisk.
Yeah, in the 5 to 10 million, there was a massive upswing, which is you see an upswing during springtime, but this was just like it from January to February it doubled, and then from February to March it doubled, right? So, and that's not including today, which is the last day.
And that's everything over 5 million.
Correct.
So over 5 million, like if you were not familiar, ULA is a measure that LA imposed a tax where if your market or your property value or you sold your property over 5 million, basically you're incurring a 4% more tax on top of your sales price. But from anything over 10 million, it's 5. That's 5% more tax.
Yeah.
So anyone that was trying to sell, you had a deadline of April 1st.
I think it's 4 and then 5.5. Yeah, so it's 5.5%. That's crazy.
5.5.
That's more than double the commission, right? So like if you're a seller out there, and
paying 2 commissions.
yeah, so let's actually talk about ULA. I think it's really important to educate the buyers and sellers about ULA. So like you said, it's to help homelessness here in Los Angeles. In between 5 and 10, it's 4, and over 10 million, it's 5.5%. Who's going to pay for that? Is it the seller, the buyer, the agent, or all three?
Oh, it's a combination of everything.
I think it's going to be all three.
What I heard what was going on was, I guess fortunately, unfortunately, I didn't have any listings that were in between those margins at the time. But what I heard was that there are people that were selling their property. If the property could appraise for 5.2, they would lower their sales price to 4.9 and sell the furniture for 300,000.
100%.
Yeah.
So regardless of what happened, there was a lot of like rush at that front door of that ULA measure to close, and some of the dudes that I've done business with and the ladies, they've closed in 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
And just to get it under, because if you 4.5, that's an extra 4%.
It's an extra almost $100,000
of taxes.
$100,000 in taxes. Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think, regardless of April 1st, things will still sell.
For sure. Things are not going to stop selling.
No, of course.
But there was an urge, a surge of sales, right?
No, exactly.
Last minute. Because, like we said earlier, it's the seller's going to pay for it, the buyer's going to pay for it, and the agent's probably going to pay for it too, right? It's all
everyone's
but what people don't understand that live in LA, New York has a similar tax. So does San Francisco. It's not as high as ours, but they also have a similar tax. I think it's tiered a little bit more. This is like 5 and 10 and 10 and up. I think theirs is tiered a little bit slower. But they also have a tax.
And different communities too have different taxes. Like in Playa Vista, there's the enhancement fee of 1.75%.
That's true.
So there's other things as well.
So let's circle back to where we first started, which is the demand. How do you calculate demand? You look at pending sales. So if you're looking at my screen right now, so right here, pending sales in 2022 was at 856. Right now, it's at 539. That's a 37% drop in properties under contract in the month of March when I
we're talking about 2022.
Yes. So this is 2022, right? If you're looking at pre-pandemic levels, average, right? It was at 838, right? So we're still at a 35% drop pre-pandemic levels.
Oh shit.
Right. So this is really interesting data. I mean, this is a huge drop in demand compared to, a normal market, which is pre-pandemic. I wouldn't call it normal because it was still a pretty hot seller's market pre-pandemic levels. But during the pandemic, because of the rates, it was the craziest seller's market that anybody's ever seen. People that have been in the business for 50, 60 years. 60 years? I don't know, maybe. But even for them, like they've never seen anything so crazy before. I mean, it was a freaking frenzy.
Yeah, it was.
Any other comments about pending sales and demand right now?
Just shows what the interest rates are doing.
Yeah, for sure. They have a huge impact on buyers, right? Because when the rates went down close to 6 and close to 5.5 for like jumbo and closer to 5 for jumbo, in late January, early February, 3 of my 4 listings went under contract in those 2 weeks. Again, it all depends on the house, right? But it has a huge impact.
And also inflation,
So that's why that's why the Fed, But they haven't been able to control inflation. So that's why they're still keeping rates high, because there's so much money out there. Like we have a lot of listings, right? We're very listing heavy, and we're still getting a lot of calls. I mean, like you just put a house in the market in West Hollywood. Like, how many calls did you get on the house?
55, 60, maybe at least.
In the first
5 days.
In the first 5 days, you got 60 calls. That's a shit ton.
A shit ton,
right?
That was a lot.
So that means there's people out there looking, but they want a deal. They want a deal, right?
They want to feel heard. They want to feel comfortable.
Yes.
They want people to say this is where the market's going definitively. But even still, like we're still in. I keep explaining this market of Los Angeles to where we are. Almost like New York in the 80s. right? Like, it may not make sense, but New York City in 1980 was not the hottest market, but there was so much potential. There's so much potential of what we have still, regardless of the rates. It's there. And the people that come in and they own an asset in the neighborhoods that you know is going to be very hot, and the neighborhoods that are there that have year over year have still increased in value, it's there. As long as you can hold on to the rate that's going on right now, and you can push forward,
what is it? Don't marry.
Don't marry the rate.
Don't marry the rate. Don't date the rate. Marry the payment.
No.
No, right? No, what was it?
I think it's don't marry the house. No, marry the house and date the rate.
Okay, that's what it is. That was bad. Right. Cut that. Actually, no, keep that in there. That's actually really
Don't marry the marriage. Yeah. So marry the house and date the rate. That's the worst saying, but it's so true.
It's true.
Because if you can afford to hold on to an asset in Los Angeles at this time right now, people are panicking.
Yeah.
In a weird way, but like not in a weird way, where there's so many people that have a interest rate of below 3 or around 3. If you can find a house that, yes, the interest rate is a little higher, if you can afford paying that interest rate, there's no reason why, and we think within the next 6 to 8 months it's going to drop, and then you can refinance within the next 6 months and then figure it out below 6.
Yeah. It's all based on you. Right? So this is why when you're looking to buy, consult with an agent, consult with us, give us a call, because even if you're looking to buy in 12 months from now or in 6 months or whatever it is, you want to consult with a professional to help guide you and to answer all your questions so that you can make a better decision, right? Because that's what we're here for. We're here to offer value. We're here to offer, data that you may not have. And that way you can make a better decision for you and your family. So let's look at month supply of inventory. So if you're looking at my screen right now, what does this mean? When we're looking at months of supply, it's a good indication if we're in a buyer's market, a neutral market, or a seller's market, right? So 0 to 4 months of inventory is gonna be a seller's market, right? The lower that number, the hotter the seller's market. 4 to 6 months.
How would you explain that to a buyer?
Okay.
So what does 0 to 6 months mean for a buyer?
Sure. So when you're looking at months of inventory, you're looking at, all right, let's just say in the flats of Beverly Hills, in that one little pocket, or just say in the city of Beverly Hills, right? There's only 10 houses on the market in Beverly Hills. Let's just give you an example. If there's 10 properties on the market and there's an average of 2 sales per month, and there's no new inventory that hits the market, only those 10 properties, how long will it take for those 10 houses to sell?
5 months.
5 months. Yeah. Easy math.
Yes.
Thank you. That's how you calculate it. It's super easy. So I think a lot of people get caught up in the data, and they may not understand that every property is very unique. But let's just look at right now, there is still only 4 months of inventory. Not a lot of inventory in the market right here, 4 months. Last year, there was 2 months. And pre-pandemic, around 4 months. So our inventory levels are actually around the same as pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah. And let's not get mistaken where the same inventory of pre-pandemic doesn't mean the same price as pre-pandemic. There's still appreciation.
That's a good point.
Yes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So 4 months of inventory, pre-pandemic, 2 months in pandemic, record low inventory.
Record low. Yeah.
So it's like 4 to 4.
Yeah.
That scale is still going up, so the appreciation's still there.
Yeah.
It just means it's a completely different angle to look at it, where it's not price involved, it's more inventory involved.
Yeah. That's why real estate's the best investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about holding real estate, right? Holding it for, most people, I think the average is like 8 years. They actually hold on to real estate for about 8 years, right? When you're looking at month supply, and if you're a buyer and you're asking your agent, right, or you're asking us, hey, Paul, I'm looking in the flats of Beverly Hills and only in that little area, and your price range is $10 million. All right, so I'm going to look at how many houses on the market in the flats in between 7 million and 13 million, right? I'm going to do maybe like a 20 to 30%,
deviation.
Yeah, exactly, from going lower and higher, right? And then from there, I'll take the month supply in that price range in that location. You can't just say all of Beverly Hills, because it's completely different in different price ranges and also in different areas. So you have to look at the price range and the area. Yeah. So let's talk about days on market. Really important metric for sellers, for buyers as well. If you're looking at my screen here, right now, the average days on market for a sold property is 37 days. Last year, it was 29 days, and pre-pandemic, it was 53 days. So houses that are selling are still selling pretty fast. Kind of confusing because there's also a lot of houses that are not selling. This data does not include houses that have come back off the market and then come back on the market. So it's not accurate data. Unfortunately, we cannot get that more accurate data. It's good to know that houses that are priced well, that are move-in ready, are selling. And they're selling
in multiples too.
Sometimes they're selling in multiples, and they're selling within a month and a week. That's still pretty good.
It's pretty good,
right?
That is good.
So is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? I mean, there's so much confusion. It's like again, we don't. It all depends on the area and the price that you're looking at in the property, because that property may be priced well, it may be move-in ready, and there may be multiple offers, and you're like, I thought it was a buyer's market.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Mario? Like,
once again, I think like you mentioned, it's property specific. So it just depends on the property, you know. So is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Is it a neutral market?
Yeah.
I think it's really just property specific market.
Correct.
You know?
It is. Like it's that one weird market where it's very property specific.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a buyer and you're saying, you know, there's a little bit more inventory than there was last year, right? You know, you're looking at a property and you call the agent, and the agent says, we're getting 2 offers. And now you have to go tell your buyer, after you already told them that there's more inventory, that this house that they just saw is getting multiple offers. Like, what do you tell them?
I mean, it just goes back to what I always say. If you do like the home, I would recommend just going for it right away.
100%.
Because inventory is so low. And, you know, that's why I try to tell buyers that. So if I do get that phone call and the agent says, hey, we've had multiple offers, well, I did kind of make the buyers aware of, you know, the situation. So they won't get, you know, too discouraged or upset.
And even if it's a multiple offers, we have strategies that will help get that buyer the property, you know, right? So it just all depends. Let's talk about how many listings sold in that kind of general area. We're talking about not sales volume, but sold houses, single family residences, so sold units. So if you're looking at my screen, Q1 of this year, we sold 1,113, not we, but in LA, in the area. I wish we did.
Paul Salazar group.
That would be an amazing freaking year. Retired. I'm out of here. Last year, Q1, 1,882, and pre-pandemic levels, 1,248. So there's a 41% drop in amount of houses sold Q1 compared to last year Q1, but Q1 pre-pandemic, we're about 12% drop. So
it sounds average. It's not hit or miss. I mean,
it's not.
The outlier is 1,800, right?
Yeah.
1,800.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, this is obviously last year was a freaking frenzy. I mean, it was a frenzy. January, February, March, April, and kind of May, it was a frenzy. So it's hard to compare. That's why I got data from pre-pandemic levels, so the viewer, the buyers, sellers can understand how we compare. We cannot compare it to last year. You just can't compare.
No, you can't.
So if we compare it to pre-pandemic levels, which is still a hot seller's market, we dropped about 12%, which is not a small drop. It's still a sizable drop, but it's not 41%. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's interesting because I feel like the people that wanted to leave during that time where they could capitalize on it left. So when that kind of the wave came over and crashed over, there's no reason that the people that wanted to leave still want to leave. So it's the people, it almost shook up the whole inventory of the people that wanted to. It came in and it was like, hey, listen, you have a 3.5 interest rate at the highest at the time at 222 or 2022. And if you want to go somewhere else, you can, let's say you move to Florida and you have a 3% interest rate in Florida after selling in Los Angeles at the highest point. That's fantastic. So everyone left or sold and bought something else in Los Angeles. So at the end of that whole, not so much drought, but coming up in 2023, it's going to be a little different where, yes, people still want to sell. It might be a little bit less because I feel like the majority of people that wanted to leave did during that time.
So now that we've given you kind of an insider's perspective on what's going on in the market when we're comparing Q1 this year to last year and pre-pandemic levels, let's look at a pretty cool stat. I'm going to show you my screen right now, and you're going to see that the inventory levels for houses over $20 million in that same area, right? Los Feliz, all the way to Malibu, as far south as LAX, is 36 months supply of inventory. So if you're looking at my screen right now, right here, there's 142 houses on the market over $20 million right now in that area. That's huge. It looks like Beverly Hills and Beverly Hills Post Office controls about 40 of those 20 plus $1 million houses. Bel Air controls about 28 and Malibu 28. So that's where the concentration of these ultra high-end houses are. 30% of these houses are newer construction, built in the last 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. So developers are hurting. There's a 36-month supply of houses over $20 million.
Developers may be hurting, but at the same time, maybe not. Because regardless of how high the amount of inventory is for the amount of months that there is in stock, it's such an emotional buy at that point. Yeah. There's $30 million and above, $20 million and above. You walk in and it's like, you're not fighting the market. It's such a different pace. It's almost like the Hamptons where no one needs a beach house. It's people come and they want a beach house. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Malibu, Beverly Hills Post Office, Beverly Hills. For 20 million and above, they're building for a specific buyer, but the numbers still for 36 months out, if a developer or a buyer of a developer property comes in, they have so much to choose from. Yeah. So it's crazy.
If you're a buyer in that price range,
and you have 36 months of inventory to choose from,
I think you're feeling really good right now.
I feel fantastic.
I feel like you're feeling really good. You can probably get a really good deal.
Yeah.
A deal, and you can pull and utilize every other
100%.
market that's out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're a seller right now,
it's tough.
Or if you're holding a loan on a property that you developed, you might be a little bit more inclined to 100%. Say, hey, I will drop my price from 36 to 25.
For sure.
So if you're a high-end buyer right now, it's showing that you might have a little bit more wiggle room than you might think.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a buyer's market.
Yeah, in that 20 plus range for sure. Any last thoughts on the market?
Well, ULA's done, right?
Yeah,
so
it's in. It's
officially ring the bell.
So that's
all right, guys. Cheers to Q1. Let's kick ass to Q2. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button for videos like this every week. Cheers.